Hello everybody. I know I didn't end up doing the pickled page turner last week, and I apologize about that. I've had a lot of stuff going on in my life, and needless to say, I'm gonna do this in my house. Sorry about the wall. Um, but anyways, so I am just doing it old school and drinking a can of Smirnoff Ice. And it's blueberry, raspberry, and blackberry. It's not bad. Not my favorite, but what are you gonna do? I should have bought wine. That's what I should have done, because wine is delicious. But my preference is what's it called? Starts with an R. Damn it, I forgot. This is like halfway gone. Sorry. But anyways, so I'm gonna do, instead of just doing chapter 2, I missed out on the ghost story 2 yesterday. So I'm gonna do both, and it's gonna be fun because I am actually going to be reading from a magazine that I just found today. I bought it about, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago or something like that, at Walmart. And let me just start by saying this is not obviously my magazine. I'm just reading from it, so please don't get me in trouble. I'm just paraphrasing, but it is this. It's called Ghost Hunting, True Tales of the Paranormal, and it's just kind of one of those magazines that you find in like the magazine rack back by the books in Walmart, and $12.99. They're expensive. But anyways, I like ghosts, so it was worth it to me. But it has a cool section in here. I'm going to try and flip the screen. I don't think I can. But I'm going to show you. So it has a neat little section on Mackinac Island. And I didn't know this when I bought it, which is kind of neat. But what it does, and I'll read the intro. And again, like I said, I don't own this. I'm just reading from a magazine. But this is about the paranormal activity that Amy Brunei and Adam Berry from Kindred Spirits found on the island. And if you haven't checked out their show, by the way, it's pretty neat. So, but anyways, so it says they're on location on Mackinac Island. It says ghosts are not the only paranormal activity that has been reported on this long inhabited island, which is kind of true, but the other stuff is kind of dumb. Situated in Lake Huron, between Michigan's upper and lower peninsulas, Mackinac Island is one of the Midwest's most unique locales, and one of the most populars too. Mackinac Island State Park covers most of the island, which is home to a cluster of military buildings that make up Fort Mackinac, which was founded in 1780. Cars are prohibited, still, to this day. It's kind of neat. Instead, visitors walk, cycle, or travel by horse-drawn carriage to see its historic sites and sample the seasonal produce. Peaches are a favorite, or the famous fudge. But there's a darker side to all this wholesome Americana. Many visitors reported seeing the spirit of a mother weeping over the late 19th century graves of her 2 young children in Mackinac Island's Post Cemetery. And I wanted to take a break and pause and just tell you that it is a long walk to get to Post Cemetery. My best friend and I did it 2 summers ago, but oh my God, is it worth it? The walk up to it, for one, is amazing, but there's also a cemetery adjacent to it, which is a newer one, and just to kind of, like, walking towards both of them, you get this eerie feeling, even in the daytime, but it's not a bad feeling. It's like kind of like an energy is present, but you don't know what to do, because it's kind of like they're trying to tell you they're there, but they're not going to harm you, but it's really cool. Back in 2011, Amy Brunei and Adam Berry traveled to the island during the inhospitable winter months to look into the story of its most famous spirits, a man known as Harvey at Mission Point, who reportedly died by suicide over a romantic relationship gone bad. What they discovered during their stay at Mission Point Resort surprised even these experienced investigators. And the article is done by Gina McIntyre. My husband works at Mission Point. He is a contractor electrician. He owns his own electrical business. And before he worked over there, and he tends to stay at Mission Point. I've asked him before, because I've heard the stories all my life. I've asked him if he's ever seen anything. He says no. However, my husband is not really a believer, so I don't know if it's like just like the ghost saying, you're not worth it, or what, but we'll see. Now, the rest of the story is in their points of view. So basically, the journalist that's writing this is asking Amy Brunei and Adam Berry questions, and they're responding to them. So the first is from Amy, and it says, "The first time we went there was January or February, which I would not recommend. We had to take a ferry to get out there, and then the lake froze over so much that we couldn't take a ferry back. We had to fly back on these little tiny planes with all our gear. We investigated the story of this guy who had been rejected by his girlfriend and proceeded to go on a quest to find the Mission Point Resort, which at the time was a Mackinac college, a private liberal arts facility, and died by suicide. His body wasn't found until spring." Then Adam says, "It's the Arctic." "It's the Arctic, or it might as well be. It was freezing." If anybody's ever been to Michigan, I know a lot of people that I'm friends with have watched this only, but if you're not from Michigan, my God, yes, in the middle of January or February, you probably want to bring winter clothing. And you're gonna be in a small plane. I have never flown in this plane. I am afraid of heights, and I had an opportunity when I was a senior to go up in it and do a tour of the Straits. And I chose to walk off the plane because it scared me too much, and I was not going to do it. Needless to say, there were really strong winds that day, and everybody that did ride the plane said that they were scared out of their minds. And one group of mine, I only had 13 kids in my graduating class, but they had to do it in like sections. And one group said that the door on it flung wide open in mid-flight. And I probably would have panicked and had a heart attack right there, so I'm glad I didn't. And I never have regretted it to this day. But I have heard it's pretty neat. So, and that's how my husband Kurt gets over there. He goes on to say, "I think the advantage for us being there in the winter was that we were around the same season that this gentleman died by suicide. That's important for the investigation because sometimes the energy is more heightened. But also there was nobody there." Correct, because Mackinac Island is not really inhabited during the winter other than the people that live there year-round. "We were the only people staying at the Mission Point Resort. It was snowing all the time. Everything was icy and white and quiet. We were able to communicate with the spirits easier because there was zero outside noise contamination, and we could hear them." And then Amy states, "If you think about that entire island, it has so much history, whether it's Native American culture or the settlers. It's not surprising that that kind of energy sticks around. It helps that they've made it a point to keep it as old as possible in terms of no automobiles." Adam states, "Specifically, we had multiple experiences in the theater of Mission Point Resort. We heard a little girl in that space. We were sitting on the stage looking up at the balcony and saw what looked like a shadow figure moving up there or someone sitting in one of the seats. There's a section near the theater of the old office spaces where you can hear footsteps, people talking. We experienced that. Amy and I have reached out to Harvey many times. We have gotten some response, but I don't think we had yet to receive verifiable information from this location that he is actually still there. We go to Mackinac Island often." Shocker. and we will never give up the search for Spirit of Harvey. The Mission Point is where we usually stay, but the Grand Hotel is also lovely and haunted. Some of the workers there claim that the place is haunted, that they have activities that happen in the workers' quarters at the Grand Hotel. Which if you Google it, yeah, there's a lot of activity there. But if you're unaware of what the Grand Hotel is, and Mission Point as well, the movie Somewhere in Time, with Jane Seymour and Christopher Reeves in it, one of my favorites personally. But it is set on the island, and it was. They said that the whole entire background was supposed to be at the Grand Hotel. Majority of the movie was actually filmed at Mission Point. I don't really know why, but I think it probably had something to do with like the Mission Point is actually by the water. The Grand Hotel really isn't, and I know there are a lot of scenes in the movie that take place there. So I think that's probably why. But I'm not gonna read the rest of it because honestly, they go into. Apparently, there was a person that stated that there was a UFO on the island, which. Personally, in my entire life, I've never heard that stated. I believe in aliens because it would be, our whole entire galaxy is huge, not to mention our universe. And it'd be very dumb, or idiotic, I should say, to believe that we are the only beings out there. However, I don't think that UFOs or any alien life would really want to visit the world, so let alone America. So sorry, I had to take a break. But anyways, so speaking of ghosts, we are going to actually meet one in chapter 2. So to recap on chapter 1, because it's been 3 weeks now? Or 2, something like that. Sorry. We met King, Wheeler, and Sam at the camp store that Bliss works at, her parents' camp store. And we know that there's a connection between King and Bliss, and we just don't know what yet. We know that he may be the one that she sees in nightmares, and that he takes place as the big hooded figure that kills people. And it ended with Alex, her high school bully, whom she does not go along with at all and really just beats her up, kind of, falling off of the Mackinac Bridge, being pushed by somebody. As you recall, the end of chapter, she woke up from her bed, so she thought that it was a dream. So keep that in mind. But we are going to start chapter 2 here in just a second. I'm going to take another drink. Hold on. Like I said, not my favorite, but it does a job. So, anyways, chapter 2 of Pricked. So tell me again why you forced me to join you on this torrid adventure. I rolled my eyes at the boy in the passenger seat. Roman had always been a drama king. Take the first day we met, for example. 3rd grade was peak time for a girl to discover and build new friendships with the new kid in town. Everyone except Bliss, the oddball. He made me so nervous that I twisted silently in my seat long enough to create a small hole in the back of my brand new, hot pink Hello Kitty tights. I threw my hands in rapture when the bell rang and the teacher excused us. With only the company of my bologna sandwich, I chose to indulge a bit earlier than lunch. A lovely, secluded swing called my name where I could watch all the other kids playing in peace. 2 small boys were lording over the monkey bars. One swung from rung to rung, with ease, as the other attempted to follow. It had rained earlier that morning, making the metal slippery and difficult to grip. And thus, the smaller, uncoordinated boy fell. It was only a foot from the ground, or the playground equipment's tip-top to the hardened, stomped-on sand below. But that boy wailed like his arm had been cut off and fed to the wolves. Feeling sorry for him, I tripped over, sandwich in hand, and brushed the remaining sand from his shoulder. There, I soothed. It will be all right. Here, take this. It'll make you feel better. I handed him my bologna on white and gave him the biggest smile. And what does the little brat do? He threw my delicious offering in the dirt. So of course, I had no choice but to punch the kid. I mean, come on. He just killed my snack. Nobody disrespects my food and gets away with it. My parents had caught wind of the playground brawl and forced me to write an apology to Roman, stating that I hadn't meant to be so rude. That was the equivalent of nailing pudding to a tree. I didn't believe I was in the wrong, and yet neither did Roman for his retaliation. I can't remember how we buried the hatchet and became best friends, but since the day that my fist connected with his face, we became inseparable. Complain some more, Roman, and I swear I will drop you off on the side of the road. Promise? I looked over to see the perfect cat-ate-the-canary grin on his stupid face. Roman was a ladies' man, and it wasn't hard to see why. When puberty smacked us both upside the head in 7th grade, he came out all shiny and gorgeous. I did not. I didn't talk to him for a whole week after returning to my house looking like a young Ryan Reynolds. He's my favorite actor, sorry. If I could have gotten away with the punching him instead of slamming the door in his face, I would have taken advantage. Being that he'd grown half a foot and acquired muscle definition overnight, I doubt it would have ended well for me. It still boils my blood thinking about it. How dare he become dreamy when I looked like a mountain troll? I told you when I picked you up what I was doing. Don't act like you couldn't say no. I gave you plenty of time to change your mind. I just don't understand why we have to go all the way to Mackinac Island for you to get some stupid book. And yes, my story takes place on the island. There are a lot of ghosts there. My breath hitched from his blatant disregard of a masterpiece. One, I held up an index finger, it's not some stupid book. I would never presume to believe you would grasp the great historical and riveting existence of an original Wuthering Heights. Not the dumb movies Hollywood blasphemously botched. And two, it's not like I'm dragging you states away. We're already in Mackinac City, Rome. Take a chill pill. I watched him cross his arms and shake his head in disapproval. He knew how much of a nerd I was, and I knew he was putting on a show. Roman couldn't care less if I wanted to drive to Texas just as long as he was along for the ride. The large green, red, and white sign up ahead pulled my attention back to the road. I flipped my turn signal on and maneuvered my old 1994 Buick LeSabre, colorfully nicknamed the Bic, due to an unfortunate mishap with a brick wall and the brand decal, into the Arnold Line parking lot. Okay, two things. One, Arnold Line unfortunately doesn't exist anymore, and I am heartbroken because of that. My mom used to work there. It was an amazing company, and I pretty much grew up on the boat. And I'm really sad that it's no longer there anymore, but I kept it in the book still. Two, the Bic was actually my best friend's car growing up. It was purple and massive, and yes, there was a mishap with a brick wall for her, and the K got scratched off, so we just called it the Bic for forever. So, just a little side note. Back to the story. I was surprised to see as many cars parked this early in the season. You better make me the biggest freaking cheesecake known to man, he grumbled as he exited the car. I'm talking record holding, Blissy. I ignored the awful dig to my name and began to bake the cheesecake I blackmailed him with in my head. He couldn't come just because he was worried about my safety. Me meeting some random guy on the side street near Ryba's ice cream shop for a first edition Bronte. Nope, I had to bribe him with sweets. Luckily, Roman's weakness is his sweet tooth, and I happen to love baking. The line moved blindly forward as we chatted. It only took a couple of minutes to finally settle in our seats on the ferry before Roman's eyes closed. In the very relaxed pose he sported, I was expecting it. The waves' calming motion on a sunny day is equivalent to dosing yourself with a highly concentrated sleeping pill. Watching the people bustling about the cabin, seeing their reactions, whether it be the first time riding or their 15th, was my favorite part. A small girl with wild, windswept hair came running down the stairs and up the aisle. Her hand grazed my shoulder as she passed. An older woman with exhaustion seeping from every pore chased after the little heathen. Just inches from entering the captain's quarters, the girl's arm was snatched and pulled, forcing her to stand aside of a woman, as I assume to be her mother. She silently scolded the child, trying to draw attention to herself. I grinned as the child's arrogant attitude shined in the form of rolling eyes at her mother's berating. That's my kind of girl. My ears perked with giggles coming from somewhere in the back. I swiveled in the bucket seat just enough to catch two young adults kissing in the corner. Like a magnet drawn, I was mesmerized by the couple's vast happiness. Their affections displayed weren't overtly sexual, not in the least. They were just enough to signify his presence in her life. I spied a brand new piece of shiny jewelry gleaming from a significant finger. No wonder why they were all over each other. The two were engaged. I began imagining how he proposed. Perhaps he performed a nervous deed on the steps of the Grand Hotel staircase. Or better yet, in the garden, hidden in their own world by freshly cut flowers and overgrown shrubbery. Dripping bullets of sweat as he reached into his pocket of his suit jacket and pulled out the giant rock signifying their life together. Or maybe he did it on horseback, tucked away on some secluded trail as they trotted their two stallions along, him breaking long enough to pop the question he had been stewing over all day in the hot sun, as the hot sun beat down on them both. The young man couldn't get enough of his love. The smile that spread across his lips told a story that could extend past time and space, shouting to the population that if he were ever to stop touching her, he would float away and cease to exist entirely. The way she held tight to his bicep told me she reciprocated the feeling tenfold. Little pecks on his cheek and laughter, singing the most pleasing melody, transformed her from a young woman to a schoolgirl. Her over-the-moon and rosy cheeks, fresh with flush, made it impossible to guess her age. This was a base to... Sorry, guys. This was a love to base all love. It reminded me of my parents and their continued passion even after 19 years. A clawing feeling of jealousy erupted in my stomach. I turned my gaze back to Roman, whose snores could echo for miles. He was a very beautiful being, and there was a time not long ago where I convinced myself that I was in love with him. I was young and naive, and he was kind to me. I hadn't known the difference between infatuation born from loneliness and love. Taking our friendship to the next level had been a simple outcome. He was around me all the time. It just made sense. What I hadn't factored in was his lack of attraction to me. A deep voice boomed through the speaker above. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for choosing Arnold Line Transit for your transportation needs. We will be docking in about 5 minutes, but we ask you to please remain seated until our deckhands can unload the carts. Thank you for your patience and have a great visit on the island. Placing my hand on Roman's shoulder, I gently shook him. The brute didn't even stir. Leaning dangerously close to his ear, feeling the heat radiate from his body in waves and craving it as my own, I whispered gently, Roman, wake up. Never in all my years of life have I ever seen anyone leap to their feet as quickly as Roman. In his newly flustered state, he became sassy and aggravated, like I had scalded him with a splash of boiling water. He ran his long fingers through his almond brown locks, moosing it by unconscious habit. What did you do that for? He demanded childishly. We are here. Yeah, well, don't touch me. His arms crossed crossed against his chest. Oh my God, you're acting like a giant baby. Quit. I huffed, equally irritated. He mumbled something under his breath that I didn't understand, probably another bash towards me. What was that? I asked, eerily close to sounding like I was speaking to a toddler about to be reprimanded. The groan coming from his lips didn't dissipate what was stirring below. Nothing. I didn't say anything. My ears burned with heat from rage and embarrassment as an unnecessary ball of deceit turned my stomach into a pit of fire. What's your problem, Roman? Don't want to be here with me? Then run along. When we get off the boat, it's no skin off my nose. Seriously? You accepted a request to meet some guy you don't even know on a piece of unescapable land. Does that sound smart to you? What time do you want me to show up at your funeral, Bliss? 1 o'clock sound good? You didn't even think before you said yes to him, and you're out of your mind if you think I'm going to leave you. Grotesque, inhumane ways of torturing my best friend played out like a kaleidoscope of horrors, continuing to shift from picture to picture only after 5 seconds or less, quickly turning on the other passengers when I grew bored. It was a bloodbath of Columbine proportions. Not an inch of the boat was left clean from my crimson massacre. I stood in the center looking over my pretties, drenched from head to toe in their life source. Physical amusement and pleasure washed over me as I had held Roman by the throat, high, watching as every last speck of his soul drained from his eyes. He gasped for air, fighting for the pitiful existence of which he wasn't worthy. A cough jarred me from the mental assault charges and murder sentences I internally endured. My hands squeezed themselves into fists at my side. I could still feel Roman's larynx on my fingers as I clenched the vein bulging around my index as his pulse beat its last. The captain's warning to stay seated had flown out the window as I dashed toward the exit ramp. I need much more space than what was possible for Roman right now. I feared if I remained to the same spot for much longer, I would reenact the gory slaughter that had just happened in my mind. My sanity slowly slipped away as the evil, mocking laugh played on repeat for only my ears to hear. Slowly burrowing further into asylum, turning my head to mush. Sorry. Gotta take a break. Okay. If it were possible to teleport my whole body clear from the other side of the island, I'd do it in a millisecond. The short metal ramp shook under my feet as I ran toward it and up onto the crowded dock. A strong feeling of eyes drilling the back of my head overcame me. Blurry shapes, vaguely looking like people, hovered in the air, never touching the cemented pavement below. My lungs pumped overtime, trying desperately to gain more and more of the sweet oxygen just beyond my reach. The waves of nausea continued their never-ending assault. I clutched the nearest object I could find for balance. A sturdy wooden post became the only thing keeping me from toppling over. People bustled around me in panic. They shouted through the forest of onlookers to call 911, but nobody could piece it together. Dry heaves ravaged my empty stomach until hot tears poured down my face. Someone with hopes of helping me placed their hand on the center of my back and rubbed side to side, whispering words of sympathy as I retched all over the side of the break wall. Although I had appreciated the strangers' efforts to jump to my aid, they were unknowingly making it worse. Stop, I begged, barely under a whisper. Please don't touch me. The clawing needs service to rip their hand away by any means necessary, even if it meant tearing flesh from bone, mine or theirs. Anything to get them away from me, and away from the jackhammering pressure rocking the base of my skull. anything to prevent it from splitting in two and leaving me dead on the ground. I turned with a guttural growl to meet the middle-aged woman who thought so strongly that she was assisting, but instead was digging her own grave. "Get away from me!" An acidic, husky voice from somewhere in the far reaches of my mind commanded. I hardly recognized the sound. It wasn't me, but before I had a chance to apologize and get my wits about it, it was too late. Oh my goodness. It's hard to read when you're trying to hold the book at the same time. Her hard enough. Hold on. I'll read that sentence again. Okay. Fear struck her hard enough to knock her backward, reflecting through her eyes as she scampered back far from the demon I was becoming. Everyone should have scattered, littered the streets with shrieks and cries of the insane girl turning cannibalistic on the dock. But instead, the lot moved closer to me, close enough to snap photos and capture my hideousness up close. My mouth was on fire. Incisors slid from beyond their resting place and elongated into sharp points. The rest of my teeth soon followed suit. The rumble bubbling deep within me threatened to explode to the surface, taking care of whatever business I refused to do. Of course, that was the moment everyone decided it was a good time to back off the psycho and give her some breathing room. All except for one, a teenage girl who eerily reminded me of myself. Her short brunette hair was dark enough to pass a shade lighter than my own. Similar mossy green eyes shone above a Samsung Galaxy and back at me with wonder and excitement. The clicks constantly shuddering from her phone set my teeth on edge. The noise buried itself under my skin, making it crawl with unpleasantries and annoyance. Without thinking, I swiped at the girl. I wanted to knock her off the ground and cut her into ribbons, but my poorly veiled attempt to raise my arms failed as they fell to my sides the second they tried to leave. The camera continued to snap and click as I curled up into a deflated ball on the cement and stared out into the lake before me. I cradled my pounding head in my hands and did my best to cover my eyes, now leaking pitiful tears. Roman's voice pushed through the crowd of strangers, gasping, chattering, threatening to toss me into the lake just inches away. "Let me through! Let me through! She's with me! She's mine!" In my weakened state, my lips pulled into a smile they could form. I gushed in my thought. "She's mine." If I could blush at that moment, I'm sure my face would look like a crawfish on a Sunday afternoon boil. Through a thick fog clouding my vision, I saw Roman reach my side. He shoved away whoever stood in his way and shouted at them to give me space. The dizzy spell that bestowed upon me grew more potent by the second. A shock of fear and panic raced across my face as I rolled to stand. I reached for something to grip and hoist myself back to a sitting position, but I only found air. A mist of lake water and the cool spring breeze tickled the skin of my palm. Seagulls cawed their unusual, annoying squawk, along with the melody of the waves dancing against the rocks. "Stay still, Bliss. You're too close to the edge. You'll hit your head. Just stay calm." Roman's voice rang in my ear. "Someone's gone to get help." I turned to look at him as he spoke, but I couldn't see his face. I couldn't see anyone. The crowd had formed into one giant blob of flesh. No discerning hair or eye color, no unique marks to make an individual their own, save for one. Oh, come on. This is the puppy, by the way. This is who's making the sound. It began by slowly peeling away from the human mass, growing its shape back little by little as it sunk closer. What I had thought was the shade of a young girl's dress quickly became the indigo blue of her lips. Water droplets dripping from her hair, her pale skin soaked from head to toe and shivering from the cold. A large red mass tangled her golden blonde hair, turning it a horrid shade of rust. As the creature opened her mouth, buckets upon buckets of a very familiar lake came pouring out. It was a never-ending stream. Her bloodshot eyes looked at me, square in my own, and with a gleam of powerful resentment, she stepped impossibly close. Body heat didn't greet me in warmth as she grazed my cheeks with her own. No wisp of air caught my hair as she addressed only me, not the crowd encasing the both of us. Her disembodied voice traveled into me, vibrating my entire body, and spoke in a raspy whisper. I'll get you for this, Blister. You are a dead girl walking. Do you hear me? Alex disintegrated quicker than she had appeared. In her place sat Roman, providing me the most concerning look. I never even got a chance to tell her the funniest joke, that she was the dead girl walking, not me. So that's chapter 2. I hope you guys enjoy my reading. I'm sorry I get a little bit distracted, but I try. If anybody has any questions or anything, please just comment on it and like and share. And I know, like I said before, a lot of people that know me read this, so please just get in touch with me. And as always, if you would like to read it yourself, just continue reading. It is available on Amazon. The Kindle edition is 99 cents, and the actual paperback copy is, I think, $19.99 if I'm sure. Side note too, I tried to put Frayed on pre-order on Amazon for Valentine's Day, which is the sequel to Pricked, and unfortunately Amazon won't allow me to. Something about, I had another book on pre-order before, and I canceled it, and I guess you have to wait a year after you cancel one, which is unfortunate. But it just gives me a little bit of a push to just get Frayed done. Right now, I am probably about a quarter of the way through, so not too far in, but like I said, it's kind of a push to get it done. But yeah, so I just wanted to give you a little bit heads up on that. And I will do another, I think I'm going to do this at the same time too, because I actually kind of liked how long it went for today, and kind of like the links to it. So I think I'm going to just do it all together. So in another 2 weeks, we will read chapter 3. And I'll look up another ghost story for you. If anybody has one as well and you want me to share it, please get a hold of me. I would love to say it online. And also, if you want to hear more about other places in Michigan too, I'd be happy to do that, because I think I'm going to have to do that eventually. So, anyways, have a great night. Please do not drink and drive. And everybody be safe.